Out of My League is a 5-piece hardcore metalcore band from Bowmanville, Ontario. Made up of Dom Perron, Steven Simpson, Taylor Como, Ali Bayat, and Anthony Rizzuto, they're young, yet they have the enthusiasm and talent of a more mature, seasoned band. They're also dropping their second EP, Resented, on April 2nd. Today we've got Anthony, Dom, and Ali in studio to talk about their new ventures with the band. So how are you guys doing today?
Good.
So what can you tell us about Resented? The album's dropping in a couple of days, April 2nd. So what are some overlying themes that you guys have for the album?
So this is our second release, and I wanted to really up the ante, everything when it comes to vocals, lyrics, just everything. So this album's way, more different and diverse than our last one. There's more songs on it. It's darker, heavier, faster, and we have all kinds of new, ambient, rhythmic stuff going on. Everything's brand new, and everything is way more high octane.
Yeah, we wanted it to sound a lot more huge than the last album. The last album, good production quality, but, we wanted this one to wow people, so we spent a lot of money, planning, getting it produced well. We went, spent a long time actually, choosing where we were going to record it, and then we wanted to go with, someone who could master it and make it sound, very huge. So we went with, Will Putney, who masters a lot of big metalcore bands like Moss to Flames, Acacia Strain, North Lane, and bands like that.
Yeah, bands that we listen to.
How did you guys end up getting him to do that for you?
Well, it's just it's really the same. He works the same as anyone running a mastering thing would work. You just have to contact him or contact his agent or manager or whatever it was.
Yeah, well, it started with me actually messaging him just through Facebook because I couldn't find any contact information for him, but I messaged him through Facebook, and he actually referred me to his manager, and we just discussed things from there.
Cool. So how is this album, aside from adding those ambient tracks, how do you guys feel like you've grown since the last EP?
Okay, so on our first album, I'd say the songs were pretty skeletal. You can tell they were written quickly, and, not a ton of thought was put into it. It was just kind of let's crank out some songs and, just have some songs out so we can make an album. But for this one, we really took the time, writing them, and the first album also was, two members doing a lot of the writing. Steven and Taylor did most of, the work. And on this one, all 5 of us, I'd say, contributed equally. And it really shows, all of our inspirations and different, diverse tastes go into it. And if there, wasn't a thing that we were all satisfied, everything in the songs had to be unanimous when we were writing. If everyone wasn't comfortable going forward, then we didn't go forward, and we made it work for every member of the band. So I think that really is how a lot of bands should write, because it's a really healthy and good way of writing, and the songs will come out way better. And everyone's going to be satisfied, and we're definitely satisfied with how it turned out.
Yeah, well, I feel like a lot of bigger bands even nowadays, I hear people talking about how one member writes the music, and I'm just sitting there well, how? I just find it would be so hard just to sit there and write every single part and just go to every member and say, okay, this is what you're doing. Whereas I really enjoy what we did. We all sat down, we all came up with ideas, and then we mixed everything together into something we all would feel extremely proud of.
And how would you say that your experiences playing more live shows between the time of your first release to now has helped you with the album?
Definitely way more. Every time you play a show live, you learn something, whether you make a mistake or you do something right, and you get crowd reaction, you get advice from bands who are bigger than you. When we first started, we literally analyzed the bands that were successful that in the scene that we looked up to, and learned from them. And playing live does so much for you, for your performance and for your sound and everything. So yeah, I think we started off playing tons of shows that really didn't do anything for us business wise, but they definitely helped us craft our performance. And I'm glad we did tons of shows that were just shitty or crappy shows that were in bars or whatever with nobody watching, because it helped us figure out how we were gonna put on our show and everything. And now we've really solidified what we're doing just by playing shows on shows and shows and watching bands who we look up to.
Yeah, that's super cool. So, in terms of your inspirations for this album, are there any different bands that you've drawn inspiration from in particular?
I think like one of the main bands would probably be Bring Me the Horizon, because I think everyone in the band has been listening to them. And like we've just like gotten inspiration like riff wise and like ambient music in the background wise. Then like me and Dom listen to like bands like Gideon, who are like more hardcore bands, and we've like brought that in. And like our guitar player Steven, he listens to like
all kinds of ambient
all
stuff.
crazy stuff. So he like does that because he has a big pedal board, and he like does all that stuff with his pedals, and it's great. And even Taylor, he started building his own pedal board, and like so like they kind of like go together now on this album with like their leads and everything. So it's a lot more diverse. And Anthony, he just listens to like everything. So like his drumming style is really cool.
You can really tell like how like everybody's bands and inspirations come into like I wouldn't say there was one overall band that inspired this record. It was just all of us coming in and taking what we listened to, and obviously our stuff's original, but everyone has inspiration. So like vocally, like I take a lot of inspiration from bands like The Ghost Inside, and like we all love the band Architects, like just like some of the big names in metalcore, and a little bit of hardcore inspiration in there too. Like people call us, like we'll come to a show, like we consider ourselves a metalcore band, but we'll come to a show and open, and people will come up and say, oh, like hardcore, like I didn't think like I'd like a hardcore band like this. And so it's like, it's weird, like I'm like, oh wow, I guess we do have like hardcore inspiration in there too. Like there really is like something for everybody in this album, and that's why I'm like really excited for it.
Yeah, a lot of the songs on the album, like you can really kind of pinpoint it. And it's like that's one thing I really like with this album is like all the songs, like they have the same sound, but like they're really different. Like one song will like people will think it sounds like Architects, one like people will think it sounds like Thy Art Is a Murder. Like it's just a lot of different like inspirations in the songs, and I think that like really makes the album cooler.
There's tons going on.
Yeah.
That's really neat. Another cool thing about your album, I find, is that your collaboration with the Falsifier vocalist, Aiden.
Oh, yeah.
How did you guys go about selecting him to be part of your track?
So, right from the get-go, when we started, like, writing the album, I wanted to have somebody on, like, on the record, and after, like, we saw Falsifier for the first time and, like, became friends with them and started doing more shows with them, I really, like, fell in love with Aiden's voice, and I was like, I have to, like, he, like, was one of the top choices from the beginning for me, and I was like, I have to get that guy on the record. So he's on the fourth track, Blind, and his part, like, that you listen to, I wrote specifically for him. Like, I wrote the part with Aiden Versteeg in my mind, and so when it came to, like, having him in the studio, I, like, told him, like, dude, like, you have to, this part's meant for you. Like, I wrote this portion of the song with you in mind, like the rhythm, the lyrics, everything was for Aiden to like lay it down, and he came into the studio and he absolutely nailed it and did it perfectly in like 2 or 3 takes.
Yeah, I think it was perfect that it was written for him, because like it just fit. Like he did like I think like 2 or 3 takes almost, and it was like perfect.
Yeah,
because it was like just made for him. And he like just killed it.
And he has such a powerful voice, and it's such a it works. I think we like work well together because my like mid range is kind of, I'd say, leaning more towards the higher side of vocals, and Aiden's got such a like just flat like low tone, and when we like go together on the record, I think it just flows and just sounds amazing. So yeah, I was super excited he was able to do it, and like I wanted him to do it from the beginning.
Would you say at this point, could fans expect to see this collaboration live?
Oh yeah, we actually did a show recently in Oshawa, and Falsifier headlined, and he did the part. And if you see us on the same bill, it's pretty much like a guarantee. We're always going to try and play that song and try and have Aiden on. So yeah, definitely, if you look for Out of My League and Falsifier on the same bill, you're probably going to see Aiden with us on stage.
So what blows my mind is that you guys are really young, and some of you guys are still in high school. How do you think you guys sometimes get over these harder hurdles in the music scene from being so young? Because you guys carry yourselves off as very mature as well.
Do you want to answer that one?
Sure. I honestly think it's just because when like all of us started, like myself, Taylor, and Steven were all in the 12th grade, and Ali and Dom were both in actually the 9th grade. So it's almost an interesting transition where we grew up in this scene. We grew up playing music, and we grew up all basically as friends. We all went to the same high school, and it really just developed this sense of musicianship and professionalism that we just had to learn by playing shows all the time and rehearsing all the time, writing music. So it really just developed our professionalism. It developed our live show, our writing style. Just starting from so young, you basically grow up with that sense of work and musicianship.
Yeah, and also, like, I find being young in the scene, like, it's a hurdle at first because people don't really take you that seriously. Like, oh my god, look at, like I'm a pretty small guy, and, like, people can tell I'm young. I don't have any kind of facial hair or anything like that. And I think it's just, it doesn't matter what age you are, as long as you come out there and, like, show people that you can perform and, like, you actually have what it takes, people immediately start taking you seriously. And if anything, it's kind of a bonus for you, because it's like, wow, like, look at these guys, like, look how young they are and, like, where they're at or whatever. And, you know, like, I think it can be a good thing too, not just a bad thing.
Yeah, like, especially since we started so young, and like, we've already developed this great sense of where we are as a band. We are, like you said, we are still so young. We have a lot of time to still develop and grow into something more, whereas some bands, like, start in, like, their mid-20s or late 20s, and, like, they basically need to get going or it's not going to go anywhere, unfortunately. But in our case, I feel like we have all this time in the world to basically come into our own.
So going back to the whole front on collaborations, do you guys have any dream collaborations that one day you would like to do in your music?
Like, have, like, somebody on a song or something, or, like, a tour or something like that?
Anything.
Oh my god.
That list is really long.
Yeah, that's a really hard question. I'd love to have a song with Sam Carter from Architects, just because I think he's the most talented vocalist, like, live performing in that genre right now. Like, he just blows my mind. I've seen them before, and, like, he's probably my favorite too, and I just, like, oh my god, to have him on a song would be amazing, just because he's such an inspiration of mine and his voice is flawless. Him, and I also love Caleb Shomo from Beartooth. He'd be sick to have on a track just because he has such a unique voice. And for tours, like, same stuff, like Architects, Beartooth, Straight from the Path, The Ghost Inside, like, just some of my favorite bands. But, like, an all-time dream would be, like, Linkin Park or Billy Talent, or, like, some band I listened to when I was a little kid or something like that. That would be amazing. Or even Slipknot.
Like, even, like, A Day to Remember or something.
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
Day to Remember.
Bands that, like, kind of developed this genre into what it is now. Like, it would be incredible. Bring Me the Horizon, people like that, too. Like, even if you were just open for them just once on, like, hey, this band can't make it over the border, can you open real quick?
Yeah.
And it would be like, yes, immediately.
Yeah. Like, the fact that we've already opened for, like, the Acacia Strain, like, that alone just blows my mind, because the Acacia Strain are legends, and, like, so much respect for them, and, like,
even
this,
North Lane,
yeah,
like, that was crazy for us at the time.
Yeah, and, like, I think this genre, like, owes a lot to the bands like the Acacia Strain, so, you know, it's an honor to even get the chance. But, like, to have a guy like that in a song, or to have I'd love to have, like, Sam Carter, like, actually come in personally and do stuff. Like, it's one thing to, like, contact a famous or, like, mid-level band and be like, hey, like, you want to do a thing? But, like, it'd be so cool to, like, be up there with them and, like, have them come in and be like, oh yeah, like, lay the part down like Aiden did. So yeah, Sam Carter, that's my choice.
Is that a shout out to him right now?
Shout out to Sam Carter and Architects. I am so excited for their new album. Best band ever.
Can you tell fans about any upcoming shows that you guys will be playing?
Yeah, this Sunday we're opening for Counterparts, Expire, Gideon, and Knocked Loose. Super hardcore show at the Mod Club in Toronto. Gonna be amazing and packed, and we're gonna actually have physical copies of our brand new album.
And new merch.
And new merchandise. Yeah. So that's probably the biggest one we have coming up.
We have, like, those couple small ones sprinkled around the place.
Yeah,
like,
if you live out in
Oshawa, we have one coming up on April 9th. In May, we have one in Belleville, Kingston area.
Yeah, Belleville one was going to be cool. We're playing with some friends, like Weston and Lungless are going to be playing. It's actually the release show of a brand new hardcore band called Blossom, and they're really great. And sneak peek, I actually did do a vocal feature on a Blossom track, so I'll be doing that there, hopefully. And Weston and Lungless, and I think Speaker are playing too. Just a whole bunch of really great local bands will be at that. So if you live in Belleville or you want to drive all the way out to Belleville, that's another one, and that's
Yeah.
May.
So we have like a May 17th,
May
but like
17th.
we have shows everywhere, like around the area in Ontario. So
Yeah.
if you're like live in one area, you can come out. Hopefully.
But come to the Counterparts one, because that one's going to be huge and awesome.
That's really awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. That was fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.